Alrighty, I am just popping in here because I have had so many problems the last 2 Wednesdays trying to get online, trying to get my cameras working. And so I have been trying to show you my paper pumpkin alternatives for April for my Wednesday lives, and it just has not worked out. So I thought, let me just try it in the morning and see if it works. So I'm here and I'm going to get through as many as I can and see where we go. I know I'm a month late, but hopefully you guys will still get some inspiration from this. So let's get started. So I am using, this is called the Inked Occasions, April 2025. And I am going to show you really quick. We're going to be using all three of the card bases. And I'm going to tell you like which one I'm using and then how I cut it. Sorry. The first two is going to be using this card base right here. And so I cut it in half. And then this side over here for my first card, this side I then cut down to two, oh sorry, it was this way. I did a 2 by 5.5. So this side I'm saving for later. You're going to cut this in half and then you're going to do a 2 by 5.5. All right. So let's get started. And I saw this card. Someone else actually designed this card, and I have looked and looked and looked so that I could tell you who it was. And I so apologize for the demonstrator who did this. But after I looked at it, and then I went and designed the card based on, and I think I copied it pretty close to what she did. I think I may have used a different embossing folder. And I did a little bit something different with the flowers, but I do apologize, but I just wanted to put that out there. So if you do see this, and it looks like someone else did it, it's because she did it first. Okay, so you're going to need the little congratulations from your kit. And then I used our die cuts, and I cut out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for those of you that don't know, there are dies that go along each quarter. And of course, I don't have the name. Yeah, I do. This one is the Hugs a Bloom dies. And so I used this little flower here. And then I used the Eyelet 3D folder. And I ran a piece of 4 by 5.5 sheet of the Pool Party through that embossing folder. And then here is that 2 by 5.5 piece that I told you to cut out. And then of course you'll need a white for the inside, 4 by 5.25. So I am using a Berry Burst card base for this one. And so let's get started. So if any of you are on here with me and you have any questions while I'm going through this, you can type in the questions. Actually, I don't think I have the questions up, so hold on. I forgot to connect to those. Let's hope I can still do that. All right, now I'm connected. So now you can type in questions. All right. So this one actually goes together pretty quick. Because I've already embossed this. So basically you're going to attach this to where it is flush to this left side, and you're going to leave this little stripe on this side. So actually I forgot I like to use, anytime I use the embossing folders, I like to use the green glue just so that it has a chance to get down into those crevices, and I think it just gives it a better hold altogether. Because it's not a flat surface. It's once you emboss it, you take the flat away. Okay, so the way I do this is I always do my left bottom corner, and then I lay it down so that it's flush up there on the right, or top left, sorry. And then I'm watching the top and the bottom as I lay this down so that it goes on straight. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in our piece, which is that 2 by 5.5 cut from that card base. This one I can actually use my Stampin' Seal Plus. And so now I'm just going to take this and put this on here. And again, I am so sorry to the demonstrator that I thought I had written her name down, and I have looked everywhere, and I cannot find it. But I did just do a craft fair, and I did a retreat since I've done these cards. So then again, you're going to put that so that it's flush right there. We're going to take this, and we're going to take that congratulations. And let me see if I can, yeah. I want to bring in one of my silicone mats, mainly so you can see that a little bit better. And then we're going to bring in our congratulations. Now, I normally would be using my ink spot, but again, I just got cleaned up from having a 2-day retreat, and so I believe I have put all that stuff away. So I am just going to use the Berry Burst stamp pad instead of the ink spot, and I'm just going to lay that down. And these are actually pretty easy to stamp on and get right. I was a little worried, I must say, when I first saw these, because I thought, oh, this is going to be hard. Was not that hard. Oops, I still need this. All right, and let me find, oh, hopefully I have a chamois. Hold on, I moved all my chamois as usual. I just had a class yesterday, so I had to move my chamois. Okay, I had to bring that chamois so I could clean it. It's always best to stamp off before you wipe it in the chamois, just because that just helps you with the cleaning part of it. Okay, so then what I wanted to do was, even though I loved these white, and I know the demonstrator that I saw that did this, she left them white, I wanted to go ahead and chalk the edges. So I'm using a sponge dauber, and as you can see, I label all of mine. I'm a crazy labeler. Don't know if there's any of you out there that are also crazy labelers, but I definitely am. And so I'm just going to chalk these edges. So I think I used a different embossing folder than she did. And I know that she didn't chalk the edges of these flowers. But I just love the way that she set this up with these you'll see in a minute, with these flowers coming down the page. And I think I did put one of the flowers a little different than she did, but not positive. And I'm seeing something that I didn't cut out ahead of time that I added to this. So give me another hot second. I don't see it in this kit, and I thought I had pre-cut everything. So hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. So let me move all this kind of out of the way a little bit. I'm going to bring in my little baby cut and stamp and cut emboss. And excuse my plates, they are really in bad shape. I've ordered some new ones, but they are not here yet, so still waiting on those. And so I'm going to bring in a Pool Party scrap, and I'm going to go back to these dies, and this time I'm going to use this leaf die, and I'm going to just run that through. So just running that through. Let me put this out of the way. Alrighty, let me get this. I always call this my right hand, my trusty right hand, which is my take your pick tool. All right, I'm just going to poke that out. Then I'm going to bring in my paper snips, and we are going to actually just cut this in half. like so. All right, so now we can bring this back in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue, but I'm only gluing the center of these flowers because I want it to have some dimension, and so I don't want it to be like all of the whole flower to be flat. And so we're basically just going to kind of line it up here, but we're going to go in and out, like not do a straight, we don't want it to be like perfectly straight going down. So then this one I'm going to offset over here a little bit farther. And then we're going to come in with the next one. And let's see. And then this one's going to kind of come back in, but maybe just a little bit more. Now I am going to put this last one down here in place, and then I'm going to put that congratulations in the middle. So this one is going to go right here, maybe a little more this way. And then we're going to come in, and I know that there was dimensionals in the kit, but again, my kit is missing in action, and so I'm just going to use some regular dimensionals for this. Okay, and so I'm just going to let's put one right there. Grab this one, put it right there. And then I'm going to cut a couple of these on the side in half, just so I have some smaller ones. So I usually, when I first start using one of these, I'll go and cut about halfway up, just so I'm ready and I have them. Okay, so that one needs to go there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put one on this end right here. All right, so now we're going to pull these up. And then this is going to be about right there. Basically, I'm going to try to line this up with this pool party piece, the embossed piece. So that's going to stick right there. And again, it is popped up. And now I'm going to kind of do a dry run with this flower because I want it to be on this side of the congratulations. But I also want like this to be hidden. So that this is kind of how I do my dry runs, is I leave that top piece in place, but not glued down. And then that allows me to stick this underneath it so that it's going to be covered by that middle section, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this bottom one. And pretty much these two need to touch. That's the way it works out, so that it's covered by that centerpiece. All right, so that's going to go like that. Then we're going to glue this. And that's going to fit right there. And then I brought in these, and again, I can't remember where these are from. I think these were like the glossy dot assortment, if I remember right. And then I'm just going to take these and I'm going to stick them on here. So one little trick, oh my gosh, one little trick to this is when I have them on the, because I always cut these for classes, I bend back this clear piece, and then it's easier for me to get my take your pick tool up underneath to pick up the gems. So see how when you bend this back, they kind of start coming off of that, and then it just allows you to pick it up a lot easier instead of like trying to like get up underneath there. That's just how I do it, so that it's a little bit easier to get a hold of that. And so we're just going to put these And I just think those look so pretty with this. And then that one. And then I have already stamped the insides, but you know, it's up to you guys to decide what kind of card you want. I needed a congratulations card. And so I did this one, and I put to the happy couple. And that is part of this set, I do believe. Oh, I don't even have that here. Huh. I thought I had the envelope that goes in, but I guess I don't. And then I took the little butterflies and I stamped them down here at the bottom. And so now I'm just going to stick this on the inside, and then card 1 is done. And again, guys, don't forget, if you are on here with me and you do have a question, you are more than welcome to ask the question. All right. So there we go. That is card 1. Okay. So for card number 2, I did bring in another stamp set, and so give me a hot second to get everything over here. All right, so for this one, we are going to be using, I don't know if you guys know, there's a retired die set called the Thoughtful Expressions die set. And so I cut a white piece and a gold piece with that Thoughtful Expressions. This is going to use the other half of that card base, the one that actually has the gold frame around it. And then you're going to need a Pool Party mat for the inside that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then you're going to need a piece of white for the inside that is 3 3/4 by 5. And then this is a thick basic white card base. All right, so and then we need, where's it at? Oh, I also cut out of the gold, I cut 2 of those leaves. And then I'm going to be using, from your kit, you just basically need this base and that Thinking of You. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this first, so I have that done. Let me grab the Thinking of You and my ink. Hopefully this won't be a really long one. And I realize I'm going kind of fast, but once you watch this, then you can watch the replay, which is nice. Now, if you're watching on Facebook, you only have 30 days to watch the replay. But if you go to my YouTube channel, it'll be on there. And that one is the Julie Brown Julie's Creative Stamping. All right. All right, so that's clean. That's done. And then I brought in, let's see, I brought in this flower from the Inspirational Sketches. They used to call these distinctive stamps, and I haven't seen Stampin' Up! Use that, but basically it puts the highlights and the lowlights are already in the flower. And so when you stamp them, they're just beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. So once you cut this one out of the Thoughtful Expressions, then you're going to ink this up with the Berry Burst, and we're going to stamp this flower onto this. Again, I don't know why they stopped calling them distinctive stamps, but I think this would be probably qualify for that because it's got the highlights and they were my favorite stamps ever. Because of this. When you see this stamp, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It makes stamping and card making so easy. So we're going to stamp that. Do you see what I'm talking about? How it just naturally puts those highlights and lowlights, and you just get such a beautiful image. So this one, it was from the Inspirational Sketches. just clean that off. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and put the card together, but we have a couple more things that we're going to stamp. So this is going to fit exactly. So we're going to just go ahead and get that on here. Excuse my dogs. They have been barking at everything that moves lately. It's been really windy, so I think some of it might be that they keep, because the wind's been blowing so much, it's got them thinking that there's stuff everywhere, and there's not. So I wanted the pink at the bottom. You can choose how you want it. And again, I turned this, even though this is going to be a horizontal card. I have a habit of doing everything kind of the same way each time. So I start at that left corner, and then I just lay it down so that it fits nice and good. I got some glue on the inside of this. Hold on. Don't know how I manage that. All right, so now we've got that on the front. Now I'm going to show you the inside because I did it ahead of time. One of the things that I did, and I think you actually only need one of these. I cut two and then realized I only needed one. So again, I'm going to cut this apart. And then I'm going to cut this apart as well. And then the one with the longer stem is going to go on the front. The one with the shorter stem, let me bring in the inside. So it was thinking of you on the front, and then it says sending my love. Here's your pool party piece, your white. And then this little piece here, I just put in this corner down here for the inside of the card. So let's go ahead and put that in. And again, guys, I know I'm going kind of fast. But if you, and most of you have probably already done all your alternatives for this kit, but if you haven't had a chance to open it yet, hopefully this will give you some inspiration. All right, so we're going to lay that on the inside like that. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and burnish this again, just to make sure it stays closed. Okay, so now I'm going to take my gold label. And again, this is from the Thoughtful Expressions dies. I almost forgot. These were actually some of my favorite dies when they came out, so I'll be holding on to them forever. But you know, part of, and especially when we're doing paper pumpkin alternatives, actually when we're doing any kind of stamping, we should always be thinking of the stuff that we already have on hand and how we can incorporate it into the new stuff. Because I know, guys, I know that getting all the new stuff is super exciting, but I feel like sometimes we forget some of the old stamp sets that like match up so well with the new product that's coming up. And so we should always be kind of thinking of that so that we can use that stuff and it's not just sitting on ourselves. Because you know what? I totally believe that stamp sets get lonely when you don't use them. So you need to go back and bring them in. And that includes your past paper pumpkin little baby stamp sets, right? They need to be loved as well. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of overlap this, but I am going to kind of bring it down a little bit. And then we're going to come in with the thinking of you. And because part of this is going to be attached here, I only need to put dimensionals on this side over here. Because the other side is going to be held on by liquid glue that's going to be on this. So I'm going to put one there. And I'm going to put one right there. And one more of these little corners right there. Okay. And then I always do kind of a test just to see that I've got everything supported. And I can see that like this part down here is not supported. So I'm going to go back and put another piece. I do a lot of what I call dry runs, mainly because it helps me to see whether I've got everything where I need it and everything supported correctly. So we're going to put that right there. And then we're going to come in with our liquid glue. And again, you guys will notice me, I always set things down a couple of times. And then before I put that down, I'm going to look at where I want this to be. And then I'm going to just kind of move that. And we're going to glue this down and lay that in place. Alrighty. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the glue here because that's the part that's going to be touching this. And then use my, I should have pulled these off before I put that glue on, but I did it a little backwards this time. The other thing that I try to get into the habit of doing is just setting my cap back on my green glue so it doesn't dry out. This glue does dry, and so when the air hits it, if you leave that cap off while you're creating, it will get, the tip of that will get clogged because you have allowed it to dry out. It wasn't quite where I wanted it. I want it right there. Nope, I think I want it. I want to make sure that that thinking, sorry, my dimensionals are grabbing before I'm ready to set it down. Okay, so that's going to go right there. And then we're going to take this little leaf and it's going to come out over here. And remember, this one is the one that was on the inside. So that's going to stick up underneath there and come out like that. Then we're going to come in with those super cute little butterflies. They're two butterflies together. They stamp together. And I'm going to take my Berry Burst ink. You would have your ink spot. And I'm going to put two of the butterflies right there. And then I'm going to come in with the little butterfly that's all by itself. And it's going to be down here. Okie dokie. Let me clean these off. And then because I cut extra, I now have extra leaves that I can put on another project or put in my, I do junk journaling as well. So I will probably stick those in my ephemera packs so that I have those ready to go when I need them. All right, so there's that finished card. And again, I use the inspirational sketches for this. And then the thoughtful expressions for these dies. And then this die was from the Hugs of Bloom, which is the one that goes with this set, or with the paper pumpkin. Okay, so thinking of you, sending my love. All right, card 2 is done. All right, so now I'm going to grab my stuff for card 3. I'm going to kind of keep this here just in case I need that. Alrighty, so for card 3, we're going to use the card base that has the gold filigree. Can you see that gold filigree through it? So the first thing you're going to do is cut that in half, okay? And then what I did was, after I had my half cut, then I put this in my trimmer. I'm not going to cut this, but I'll show you how I did it. So I'm going to fold this, pretending that I have just half of it, right? And then I put it in my trimmer and I lined up corner and corner, and then I cut it so I had 2 diagonal pieces. Okay? So first you cut it in half and then you cut the diagonal. Alrighty. So for this one, from your kit, obviously you need that card base. And then you need this big flower die that is in your kit. You need the hugs from your kit. And then you need the little label that it has the straight edge. There's one that has a curved edge. This one is the one with the straight edge. So that's everything that we're going to need for this card. And then I added a piece of basic white. Oh, I thought I already had the inside done for this one. Maybe I don't. What did I do with it? All right, no big deal. And then the card base, I picked Gorgeous Grape. So let's get that card base folded and burnished. Alrighty. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping first. And so I brought in some crumb cake, and I sure thought I do. I had the ink spots for this one. So I brought in my crumb cake ink spot. I'm going to use that little double butterfly again. And we're going to just ink that up. And it's going to go down here in this corner, like so. That will lighten up, just so that you know. And the reason I like to use crumb cake, just so you guys know, is this one and the one that's going out, Wild Wheat, that just went out. Those were the two closest colors that I could use that would match up anything that had like gold in it. It coordinates really well with that. Okay. Oh, the other things that I brought in for this one is the brushed brass butterflies. Okay. And I don't think I put a sentiment on the inside of this one, because sometimes I don't put sentiments on the inside, because especially when it's like kind of a sympathy card, you might want to write your own thing for the inside. So I have a tendency to sometimes leave those undone. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take that triangle that we cut, and it is going to be adhered to the top left of our card front. And again, this one you can use a combination. I just wanted to show you of the Seal Plus. And then what I usually do is I will come in, I have these smaller, I put glue into these ones that have the skinnier top, so that it comes out when it decides to come out. Oh, and then that came out a bunch, but that's okay. I want that in that corner because I want to make sure all my corners have some glue on them. Oh, I got lucky. I thought, oh great, I just laid that right into that. Okay, so again, I start the same way. Even if it's a triangle, I'm going to start in this bottom left corner. And then I'm going to take it up to that top. Make sure that it's lined up, and then just lay it down across the top. All right, so that's in place. You may have a little bit of glue, like, because remember I got a little extra glue, but that's why I have these glue erasers handy, so I can get rid of any glue that squeezes out. Sometimes. There we go. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is, I don't want to use this whole piece. But before I do that, I want to get my hugs in place. And then I want to stamp my sentiment, which is I'm here for you. And this one I decided to do in Gorgeous Grape. I've just got to find the I'm here for you. Oh, I was like, you watch. It'll be the last one that I pick up. Does that happen to you guys? Like when you're looking at all the, especially these photopolymer, because they don't have labels on the back where we can read them, right? Okay, and then what we want to do is we want to do it more to the left side. So I'm going to try to get that centered without getting my head in the camera. Okay, and then, whoops. There's the I'm here for you. Let me stamp off a couple times and then clean that. And then we're going to bring this in, and I'm going to go ahead and put this Hugs in place, and I'm going to use my, this is still the Tombow glue. I've just put it in a container that has a really thin top to that so that it comes out thinner and I don't get those big like blops of glue. All right, so this is going to go up here. And you want to kind of put this like just a little bit off that top edge, but you also want that S to go into where the gorgeous scrape card base is. All right, so there's that. And then we're going to, I'm going to bring in my mini dimensionals because we're going to pop this one up. And the whole thing's going to be popped up because this is on here flat. So I'm just going to see if I can get away with putting 3 if I get them spread apart good enough. See, I needed an extra one. If I'd have put this one over a little bit more this way, I think that would have been fine, but that's okay. Even though I have that space right there, we're good. We're good. Okay, and so this needs to go up to where it's just kind of, the bottom edge here is kind of even with that, the S right there. So that's going to go right there. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to glue all these pieces, and then I'm going to trim this and I'm going to end up using this piece on a different card. All right, so but the most important thing is making sure that you get all of these pieces that are going to be on the card base, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. But let me go ahead and get some of these little dots in place. And I do know that like this leaf for sure is going to be part of what is on this. And so what I'm going to do, this time I'm starting at the bottom right because I'm going to be cutting off stuff on the left. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of laying this down. Whoops, moving it over so it's flush. And I've got all these pieces glued where I want them. But then, and I did get that one glued, but then see this little piece here? This piece right here needs some glue on it. And that's what I was talking about. Because I'm going to be cutting this apart, some of these pieces won't have an anchor point. And so you want to make sure that you get them glued down. All right, now I'm going to flip this over and we're just going to cut right up this edge. So see how it was important that these are glued in place. And I kind of like the look of that too, where you've got this whole design and then you've got some of those flowers coming in from there. All right, and then did we already, let's put the inside in, and then we're going to add our butterflies to this one. I guess I stamped both sides of the butterfly. I've got butterflies on both sides. Okay. I must have stamped it earlier and I didn't realize that I had. So this is going to be on the inside. Again, I did not put a sentiment. You are more than welcome to go through your stash of stamps and find out one you'd like to use. And so now we're going to bring in our brass butterflies. And I'm going to just add 3 of these. And so I'm going to take one of the, oh, I don't have any small ones left in this batch. Oh, well, I guess I would have normally put a small one, but obviously I have no small ones left. So I am going to work with what I have. It'll be fine. So I'm going to put a big one right there. And then I'm going to put one right here. And then I'm going to put another big one. So normally this would have been my only big one, and I would have put the 2 smaller ones, but all I have is big butterflies left. So this card gets big butterflies, which I'm sure won't be a problem. Okay, so there is card 3. It says, "Hugs, I'm here for you." It has those beautiful flowers, and then we added some butterflies, and then the inside I just stamped in crumb cake the butterflies to kind of mimic the gold butterflies on the front. Alrighty, guys, that is card 3. We are on to card 4 already. We are rocking and rolling here. Okay, let me get all of the, I am bringing in some different stamp sets for this one. So I'm just grabbing all my pieces and parts here that got kind of jumbled as I was shifting my desk around. Okay, so for this one, you're going to, again, want a Gorgeous Grape card base. I also brought in, remember that old ribbon, the Gorgeous Grape ribbon? And again, guys, Paper Pumpkin Alternatives, pull in some of your old ribbon that you've stashed away because it's retired, and get it out and use it. And so this time I cut out from Highland Heather, Peach Pie, and Berry Burst. I thought I had another one. Maybe I don't. Nope, that's it. Okay. So remember this, the Hugs of Bloom dies. So I took this die and I cut out 1 in Peach Pie, 2 in Berry Burst, and 1 in Highland Heather. Then this label, sorry, I cut out a white label. So I used these 2 dies this time for this one. And then remember we cut this in half, and then we cut it in a diagonal, which is going to leave you another diagonal. So if you liked that last card, you can make it again. But now we're going to be working with this half, and we are going to cut a piece, and it looks like I cut it from this side right there. We're going to cut a piece that is 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. So this will be the piece, and then that's going to leave you another piece that you can use on another card. So then that's going to leave you with this piece right here. And then you'll need a basic white piece for the inside. All right, let's get moving on this one. All right. So we're going to fold this. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to take this piece here and I am going to wrap. You can see, because this one I'm going to show you how to tie the bow. I didn't need that much. I don't know why I decided I did, but I'm just going to wrap this around the top of this piece here. So I'm going to take some Stampin' Seal Plus, and we are going to wrap that around this top edge right here. Make sure it's straight. All right, just like that. Then I'm going to move these out of the way. And then I'm going to bring in my little piece here. Now this time I don't want this band at the bottom. And so I'm going to add my glue, but when I put it on here, I'm going to like hang this off the bottom edge so that only this part glues on. So I'm going to use this other piece that was left over. I'm not putting any glue down here because I'm going to end up cutting that off. But as you can see, I just add little dots to some of the leaves. And I try to strategically put it to where it's the leaves that I know I need to kind of make sit in place. Now, the one thing I do want to do is make sure that I get that cut edge that I cut earlier right on this right edge right here. So see these pieces? This one hangs over, and that's fine. It won't hurt anything. So I'm going to lay all these pieces down, and then I'm going to be able to flip this over, bring in my snips, and just cut this bottom edge away. And then this is leaning over a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that as well. Okay, so now I've added the rest of that flower, and look how pretty that looks on there. So now I'm ready to put this. This one is going to be a horizontal, and so I am going to line this one up on the left side of this page. I'm going to put my lid back on that. All right, so let's bring in I'm going to move this real quick. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Seal Plus, and you'll notice I do go back over that ribbon just to help hold it in place. Okay, again, I'm going to start in my left corner down here, and then just lay this down, lining up my left side. Whoops. That ribbon stuck to my hand, so I had to fold that back under. Okay, and then that's going to lay down. And then you always want to check to see if you have any like parts like I mean, I have just a smidge right there and sometimes it's not even worth trimming it because it really doesn't affect anything. All right, so that fit pretty good. It's going to go like that. And then let's work on this side, and then we'll tie our ribbon to finish it off. Oh, for the inside, so what I'm going to do is I am going to cut my Highland Heather one in half. I'm going to leave this half for the inside of the card. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut these two in half. So we've got two small Highland Heather. And then I'm also going to cut the peach pie one in half, and then these two I'm going to leave whole. All right, so we're going to stamp our greeting, and I'm doing this in the Gorgeous Grape, and this is the one where I brought in the happy birthday greeting, and let me see if I can remember where this this one came from. It's called A Time for Cake. August of 24 Paper Pumpkin is where this sentiment came from. Time for Cake, August 24 Paper Pumpkin. Because I wanted a birthday card. So do you see how I mix and match all my little, you know, I'll bring out my old paper. When I'm working on Paper Pumpkin, I keep my stamps in a Paper Pumpkin box that's dated 2024. And so all of my 2024, there's a label on it, but I'll have a stack of those Paper Pumpkin boxes that have my stamps in it because I have them in there by year. And then I just kind of open it up and go through it and see what stamps are in there so I can use them on, I can use them along with the new set or the new Paper Pumpkin that has just come out. Okay, so I am going to stick one there, one there. I'm going to put one in the middle, and I want it down in the middle because I'm going to be sticking these leaves behind it. So always be conscious of where you're putting your dimensionals, especially if you're planning on sticking some leaves behind. Just a little tip there. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and then I'm going to actually add the leaves after I put this on, because then it will allow me to kind of stick them, look at it while I'm doing it. So this is going to be kind of centered right here. Okay, now the first ones I'm going to put down are the whole, the Berry Burst ones that I left whole. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these into place, and they're going to be basically kind of like my bottom layer. And I just want that to just barely fit back behind there like that. Then I'm going to put the other one down here, coming out the opposite side. I really love the dies that came with this quarters paper pumpkin. As you can see, I pretty much used, did I use them all? Yeah, except for I think the hugs, and that was only because this kit came with those gold hugs. But yeah, I used every die in that set for this paper pumpkin, these alternatives. So then next I'm going to come in with the peach pie. And this one's going to fit right here, but it's going to go over the top of the Berry Burst one. And then we're going to bring in this one. And this one's going to be right here. I don't want it to go over here, so I'm going to make sure it does overlap this a tad bit. And then we're going to finish it up with our little 2 Highland Heather pieces. You can notice I did the most leaves, so I did with the 4 leaves down to 2 leaves, down to 1 leaf is kind of how I layered these in. That was the easiest way for me to kind of get everything where I wanted it. So that one's going to go like that. And then we're going to bring this one in at the bottom. And that one's going to just layer like that. And then what I did for the inside, I'm going to tie the bow last, is this little, these last 2 little Highland Heathers. I went ahead and put on the inside. And so I used this one, So Happy to Celebrate You. And this sentiment came from the Layering Leaves stamp set. Okay, so I used a stamp that was from another paper pumpkin, and now I've used a stamp that is from another stamp set that I bought. And so we're going to go ahead and stick this on the inside. My little alarm's going off. I'm on an eating plan, and it's telling me, hey, it's time for you to think about your next little meal. Oops, and then this is just going to go on the inside here. Like so. And then we're going to bring in my, for those of you that know me, you know I've made this little tool that helps me to tie bows. And so if you need to know how to use it again, then you've got one. Basically, you're going to work from the thicker side towards you. We're working on these 2 legs because we're making a small bow. So you're going to take this, you're going to bring it in here, and you're going to wrap it back across these 2 legs. But then you're going to grab the end of that ribbon and go in this top opening and pull that through. Come around the bottom and up. And you can see I've had way more ribbon than I needed. Then you're going to grab this leg over here and you're going to tie your knot. Tie that down really tight, and then we're just going to slip that off, and it just always makes this perfect little bow almost every single time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with some mini glue dots, and I know you guys have heard me say this before. I usually I'll lift the ribbon and I'll put one underneath the ribbon just to hold that in place. Then I am going to come in and I'm going to put 2 in the center right next to each other, because this allows me to position the tail or legs. I don't know what you guys want to call these, tails or legs, but it allows me to better position how I want those to lay, if that makes sense. So now I have those 2 mini glue dots, and I'm going to stick this down, and I'm going to make sure that tail or leg gets caught in one of those glue dots, and then I'm going to push down, and now I can just come in and trim this to the size that I want as far as the tail or the leg. I don't know. Some people call it tails, some people call it legs, and probably someone else has a different name for this. All right. So here is card 4. What do you guys think? So super cute, super easy, and then there's the inside. All right, we are done with card 4, and so let's move on to card 5. Let me clear all this out. And of course I have an extra little Highland Heather piece because I already did the inside of the card. Oh, here we go. I was like, where is card 5? I thought I had lost it. Okay. So we're going to do card 5. And so from your kit, okay, so this time we've got that last card base. So this is what we're going to be using. So you're going to cut this in half, and then you're going to cut one of the sides down to 4 by 5 1/4. So cut it in half, and then cut down one side to 4 by 5 1/4. And that's what I've done with this piece. And then you're going to need the congratulations mat. And then this time we're going to use one of these smaller labels, but it's the one with the curved edge. And then you're also going to need from your set this die cut from your kit. And then I added a piece of Highland Heather, which is going to be the sentiment mat. And this is 1 by 4. And then I used the die cut again, and I cut out 1 Berry Burst, 1 Highland Heather, and 1 Peach Pie flower. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you the inside, because when I cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4, it left me with this little strip, and that's what I'm going to put on the bottom of this 4 by 5 1/4. And then I stamped it with Peach Pie ink, Best Wishes, and this Best Wishes came from that same stamp set that I just used before, the layering leaves. That layering leaf stamp set, if you guys have it, go look at it. It's got some great sentiments. Then we are going to be using the low profile embellishments, and again that same gorgeous grape ribbon, and then we're going to use a Peach Pie card base for this one. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to take this, and we're going to take our ribbon, and we are going to wrap our ribbon so that it's about, I'm going to say, at 1/2 inch off this left side. So let's get that on first. That's the one thing I can say in my card class and when I'm designing. Like, I'll have my ribbon sitting right there, and I know I need to put it on, and I don't know why, but I will forget to, even though I'm looking right at the ribbon, I'll forget to wrap it before I put this piece on the card base. How many of you guys do that? I do it quite often. All right, so then we're going to wrap there and cut that. Alrighty, So now we have this. So now we're going to go ahead and put this on the card base. So just a rule of thumb for me is as long as they're flat layers, I will sometimes work off the front of the card base. But if I'm going to be adding dimension, I add the flat layer. And then when I add this one's not going to have dimension, but I'm just giving you this as a tip. This is how I do it. If it is going to have dimension, then anything that's flat, I go ahead and add to the card front. And then I build my dimension on the card front because it's a lot easier to adhere this flat piece and then build the dimension instead of building the dimension on this and then trying to get your adhesive on the back of that with the dimension on the other side, if that makes sense. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, I don't even know if that made sense. Hopefully that made sense to you guys. And you'll notice I don't push anything down all the way until I have it right where I want it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this on the inside. So where are we at with time? Oh, I'm only an hour and I'm on card 5. We're doing good, people. So again, if you still have some of these pieces and parts left, I would love it if you would make some of these designs if you like any of them. Okay, so that goes on the inside. Then we're going to go back to the front. And so this little piece is going to go right in the middle, and I'm only going to put glue where this circle is. I mean, if you guys are afraid, let me just say, if you're afraid that going in and out of the card, these pieces might get bent, then you can go ahead and do what I'm doing and add just little tiny bits of glue to those leaves. So we're just going to center that right on that right center, like that. Let's go ahead and stamp our congratulations, and we're going to do this in peach pie, if I have it over here. Hold on one second. I used it in my class yesterday. I thought I had checked and I had everything sitting here, but luckily my table is just on the other side of my workstation. So here is the peach pie. And we're going to do that congratulations, and we're going to stamp that right there. Oh my gosh, I was having them do a technique and they really ripped up my stamp pad doing that technique yesterday. Okay, so we're going to stamp that there. I may have to order another one of those. I don't know if you guys can tell, we were using a technique where they take the stamp pad and, but look, can you see what happened to my stamp pad? It got all kind of ripped up. It's all right. It'll be fine. Gives me an excuse to get another one. Okay, so now I'm going to put this way, and I'm going to bring in that "To the Happy Couple," which is one of our little sayings here. And then this one I'm going to do in the Gorgeous Grape. So I'm going to bring in my ink spot that has Gorgeous Grape on it. And we're going to take this one, and I'm going to try to center this. This is really hard, trying not to get my head and get that stamp straight, just so you guys know. Trying not to get my head, which I may have gotten it in the camera. Okay, and so this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I see a little bit of, where's my take your pick tool? When I punched this out, I left a little piece in there. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to put our glue here. we are going to stick that on here. And then we're going to fussy cut around this to kind of mimic what's already there. And remember, when you're fussy cutting, you don't have to be exact. You're just trying to follow the curves of what's already there. And you'll notice that I'm moving my left hand, and the scissors, the only time I'm really moving the scissors is when I kind of get to the end of a cut, or like more towards the tip of my scissors. And I just allow my left hand to guide where I'm cutting and where the curves are going. There we go. All nice and fussy cut out. All right. So let's bring our card base in. And so this is going to go right there. So let's get that on there. And I didn't pop anything up on this one. And I do that, you know, sometimes because, you know, if you're wanting to mail cards, you do have to kind of pay attention to how much dimension you put on there. Otherwise, you're going to end up paying extra to mail them. So I do try to keep that in mind when I'm designing. And then congratulations to the happy couple. It's going to just go right there and push up underneath that. I kind of liked this with the bigger sentiments and then the little tiny sentiments that went along with it. And then we're just going to take these and we're just going to put some glue in the middle. And then we're just going to put our 3 flowers. And so I always put my top and my bottom and then my middle because it's easier for me to figure out kind of where center is with this middle one. And I'm not putting a glue dot underneath this because this glue is going to seep through the ribbon because this is a sheer ribbon and it's going to help to adhere that, just so you guys know. Okay, so now I can take this and I can get this centered because I've already placed these two like so. And then we're going to take those low profile dots and I'm going to use the gold ones because this is gold. And again, remember how I told you to get them off of here easier if you just bend back that piece, then it kind of pops those up and off. So it's easier to get your take your pick tool behind it. So see, watch, I bend it and then that little part just comes up. And that's all it takes. You just need one little edge to kind of pop up. But you do have to be careful because if you bend too far and you don't have your thumb protecting it, they will fly across the room. It's like you will have takeoff. All right, so look at how easy that one was. Card 5. Congratulations to the happy couple. We've got our flowers with our low profile dots. And then best wishes. This came for the layering leaves stamp set. And then that little strip across the bottom. Wow, we are booking here, guys. All right, now we are on to card 6. And I may not have prepped this one. So this one I may just kind of put it together for you and show you what I did. Because I don't know if I am going to have enough time to, I may. Okay. Okay, so remember, we're still using that one side. We're using the other side of that last card base. I'm going to bring it back in again. Sorry, I'm trying to get all of my ink pads. You are going to need the Thinking of You. And then I did cut out 2 of the peach pie leaves. And then we are using a white card base. right, you're also going to need 3 berry burst pieces that are cut to 1 1/4 by 5 3/8. And then, and I'm just going to show you the inside. And then you're also going to need a mat that goes on the inside of the card base. That is a berry burst that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okie doke. All right, so from your kit, so remember we cut this in half, and we use this half. Now what we want to do with this half is we're going to cut these into strips. And your strips need to be cut into 3 strips that are 1 by 5 1/4. So basically, I cut this down to a 4 by 5 1/4, and then I cut 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. Actually, I think I started on this side so I'd have more color. I did a 1 inch, I did a 1 inch, and then I flipped it over and did another 1 inch. So it just depends. If you like the way the color flies, you can just do 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and then you're going to have 1 extra. But you need 3 strips that are 1 by 5 1/4. So here's mine. And you do kind of want to keep them in order, which I have not done because I just threw them in this, but I'm going to kind of see if I can figure out. I think this is the center, and then this comes in over here like that. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount all of these onto one of the mats. So again, I'm just using my Stampin' Seal Plus. So I don't know if anyone's watching, but if you guys are watching and you are asking questions, I'm not seeing them. So I apologize for that, but I will go back and review later. And if I see any questions, whoops. This actually has to be quite close to this bottom edge. I will answer those questions for you. Okay, so there's the first one. Now we're going to put the second one on here. Ah. And then the third one. You're also going to need a piece of white, and I'll get you those measurements in just a second, because we are going to stamp a hummingbird on this, and the hummingbird stamp came from Thoughtful Expressions. And I do have that over here, but I don't know where the dies are for that right now. If I can find them quick, I'll cut the whole thing out for you. If not, I'm just going to show you how to color it, and then I'll show you kind of the finished product. Okay, so the Thinking of You is going to be in Berry Burst ink. So let's get that stamped. And then I'm going to show you the inside of this card, just to save some time. Ooh, that moved a little bit. I hope that stamped. Yeah, it stamped. Okay. It kind of, the static made it move. So we're going to stamp that off. Put this on here. Okay. So on the inside, I brought in, again, it came from Thoughtful Expressions, which is where the hummingbird comes from. And sometimes there are no words. I really like this one because I've been through some tragedies in my life, and that is so true. Again, when I cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4, I have this strip that I put on the bottom. And then there is that Berry Burst mat that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Then you're going to stamp your sentiment, put your strip on, stick that on the inside. Okie doke. Okay, so what we're going to do is then we're going to come in, and with black Memento ink, we're going to stamp this hummingbird, but I did want to show you how I colored it, even though I'm trying to make this go pretty fast. I mean, most of you guys are good with blends, and you're good at coloring in your own stuff. Okay, so there's that. And I just kind of wanted to show you how I combined my colors for this. And I think I used Bubble Bath and Highland Heather. I'm trying to remember what colors I used. Okay, so what I did was I took my dark Highland Heather. Let me bring you in a little closer for this coloring part. And what I did was I just did the, like, kind of where the leaves start, the feathers start to get dark. So I kind of took this, my dark Highland Heather, and I just kind of went along this edge right here. Okay. And we're going to do that again down here, but I'm just kind of showing you step by step. Then this time, now you saw me brush down. This time I'm going to brush up because I want to bring that dark up into the top of the feathers. And so I'm just going to like push that up. And remember, it's not about how hard you push, it's about the saturation that helps with that blending. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing with these tail feathers. So again, I'm taking this and I'm just brushing it this way to add a little bit of dark there. Then we're going to come in and I'm going to continue out to the ends. But you'll notice I actually start right where I started. I like go right over the top of where that dark is because it helps pull that color out to the edges when you're blending. Okay, so that's that. Then we're gonna bring in, oh, Flirty Flamingo. I was like, did I use? Okay, so the Flirty Flamingo, what I did was, I didn't put as much dark. I think I only did the dark right here where it's naturally darker. So I pulled the dark there. And then again, I'm going to bring in the light and I'm going to pull that out and down into the tail feathers. And then, oh, I did do one more spot. So right here on this, where this is dark right here on the head, I went ahead and filled that in. And then I'm going to come across here and we're going to just kind of follow that curvature right there. And I didn't put any dark over here because I didn't think it needed it. I felt like that would have been naturally lighter. So there's the Flirty Flamingo. And, oh, actually, I think I did come around the top of that right there. Okay, then I came in with the dark peach pie. And all I did with the dark peach pie is right in this little section right there and a little bit on the beak. Then I came in with light smoky slate and we filled in the chest of our hummingbird. Again, you can color it any way you want. I was just trying to match up the colors. And I'm not going to take the time to, obviously, then I got the dies, which are the Thoughtful Expression dies. And it has that hummingbird. And I cut the hummingbird out. And so that was ready to go on the front. But let me show you how I put this front together. Make sure I have it. Okay. So basically, I just made sure I left a little bit of an edge on the top, like equal edge top bottom, but this one was pretty close over here. So I just want to show you how this part goes together. And then I'll show you the finished card for this one. So that one goes there. Again, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the flowers. This is going to be my centerpiece, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach this right side first so that then I can center that centerpiece. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Because I don't know about you guys. I don't do good starting on the left and going across and still getting the, like the right spacing. So, but I want this spacing to match this spacing on this outside edge and bottom and top edges. But do you see how I mean when you put those two oh, let me go back out, sorry. So those two pieces in. So now I can come in with my centerpiece, and it's really easy for me to get that center to where it's equal on both sides. So that's why I do it that way. But I mean, some people can start on the left. They know exactly how much space they need to leave. That's not me. So I have to do it this way. So then I can kind of lay this down. And let's look and see if I've got the top edges straight. Yeah, so everything's straight. And then your hummingbird's going to go up here, but I will show you the finished card. But this I did not pop up, but I'm going to do my dry run here. And so the biggest thing is I have to make sure that my thinking of you is up high enough that I can get this leaf down here. So we're going to stick this peach pie leaf. And I kind of want it right like that. And I'm not popping anything up here. Now this will cover that just fine. And now I'm going to make sure that this one comes in over here, and it's going to tuck in like right there. Yeah, as you guys can see, I do a lot of dry runs where I just kind of put things in place, make sure it's all going to look good. And then I put that final piece on because I've already tested it. And so I know all of the little pieces that I want covered are going to be covered. And then, like I said, you will have die cut that hummingbird out. Let me get this where it's straight. Ah! That totally moved on me. That's the good and the bad of the liquid glue, right? Because it will move. Okay, and then I would have cut my hummingbird and put it right there. So let me show you the finished card. So see how the hummingbird is cut out and he's put right there. And then it says, thinking of you. And then on the inside, I already showed you this. We matted it with Berry Burst, basic white, stamping sometimes there are no words, and then putting that little strip down there. All right, guys, that's all 6 of them. Those are my 6 alternatives. You know, this one was a fantastic one to work with, but I will say this, you can get so many cards out of this one. There's just so much potential in what you can get done with this set. So I'm going to pull them all back in so that you can see them. If I can figure out where I set them all. Here we go. You guys have probably already forgot the first one. All right. Here. So we've got this one. We've got this one. We've got these 3 that are kind of, let's do it this way. Maybe I can get them all in the picture. So there we go, guys. Those are all of the paper pumpkin alternatives. The 6 that I did for my class. Actually, let me push that up so that you can get them all in there. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope it was helpful. And again, I'm not seeing any questions. So if there was people on and you guys did ask questions, I apologize. They did not come through, but there you are. Those are my alternatives for the April paper pumpkin. And I hope that inspired you and helped you to reimagine what can be done. Even though I got to admit, the cards that came with this set, absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The only reason I did the alternative is because I teach that for my Paper Pumpkin subscribers. And so I always have to come up with it. But I got to tell you, when Stampin' Up! Does such a beautiful job with the original design, it makes it a lot harder. But we are trying to stretch it and turn, 9 cards into possibly 20 cards. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Again, if you had questions, I didn't see them. If you're watching the replay and you have questions, go ahead and type them in, because I do sometimes see those and I can answer anything and hopefully be helpful. But I know this was a surprise, but like I said, for 2 weeks, I have not been able to get this thing to work. This Wednesday, I couldn't get my cameras to attach. I use a third party. It's called Switcher Studio, and my cameras wouldn't attach. So it was crazy. So if you guys want to reach out to me for any reason, there's my information. So you can order through me at juliebrown.stampinup.net. If you're not getting Paper Pumpkins, but you want to, you can subscribe there through Paper Pumpkin through me. There's my email, and obviously my Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram, Julie's Creative Stamping. YouTube, you have to put Julie's Creative Stamping, and then make sure you check out my blog. So anyway, guys, thanks. Have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. Fill your cups this weekend. Do something for yourself, and bring some joy into your lives. Anyway, guys, thanks.